Hi, I'm Milton Rendell and welcome to Real News Friday. Interesting week, and I think I said it in the last vlog that we did that I would anticipate maybe there might be a little bit of a dip in sales due to some of the restrictions we had. Well, the statistics do show that has happened, and during that week sales were down 34%, down to 645 sales for that particular week. Stock levels are at 8,907. So basically, as I predicted, the sales would come down, but that's because there was a lot of home opens that didn't occur, and obviously there's quite a few restrictions, and a few of those restrictions are still out there, so it may mess up our stats for a couple of weeks. But going forward, I think it'll even itself out, but I think we'll probably have a 2-3 week period where some of the statistics will show quite a variation, and that'll be basically due to the COVID restrictions implemented by the state government. In terms of rentals, number of rentals is down 4% on the previous week, but overall are up 6% on what they were 4 weeks ago. So that's an interesting trend, and that's something I hadn't spoken to you about before. I thought there was a bit of a levelling happening there, but the still amount of rentals still available is less than 49% of that of 12 months ago. So we're starting to get a few little mixed messages, and I get the feeling that possibly the end of May we may have just seen a few twists and turns. Nothing bad, and there's no panic out there, or there's no ultra change. I think we're just going to have a few twists as a byproduct of what happened recently with the recent shutdown. It was always going to affect our marketplace to a degree, and it affected businesses across the board. So real estate is not unique in that. So I've had a few people say to me, I'm trying to understand the market, where it's going, what do you think is going to happen? First thing, like I just mentioned, I think coming up to the end of May, we may see a few twists and turns. We've also got a federal budget which is going to be released in the next week as well. Now, it sounds like it's going to be a small giveaway budget, and what I mean by giveaway, it sounds like the government's got a few little things it's going to kick into the economy. But having said that, the economy appears to be recovering quicker and better than was anticipated, so that obviously is a positive for our market going forward. My thoughts on the market overall today, we have seen a movement in pricing in around the Midland area and through to the hills. There's some of the activity that you do hear on the news are sort of highlighted in one-off type scenarios. We're not seeing huge surges in prices, but we are seeing movement in prices, and we are seeing increased equity in properties. I think one of the trends that we are currently seeing is that a number of people reviewing their investment portfolios who probably were thinking about retiring 18 months ago before COVID hit are now revisiting that, because they probably thought that they had lost some equity, but now starting to pick that equity up now and seeing the market as being active, will now probably start considering their properties. I do know that a lot of financial advisors out there have been talking to people who've had their stuff on hold for the last 18 months, telling them to reflect and analyse their current portfolios with the planning for their next 5 to 10 years. Now, that's a normal process, and that's what most financial advisors would be doing, and I would understand it. So we may have a little bit of a catch up over the next probably 6 to 12 months, where people start analysing their portfolios, discovering what equities they are in there, and probably releasing those properties onto the market. So that may help our supply situation. I'm still hearing builders are very busy at the moment, and I think that will continue for some time. But overall, the feedback is pretty good. The rentals, like I said to you before, I thought that was slightly slowing. It's still very buoyant, but I still think there's a bit of a slow there. Landlords, I would issue one small caution. There are reason to give increased rents because they had gone to incredibly low levels in the past 18 months to probably 2 to 3 years. But just be careful what you do with your rent reviews. You don't want to lose good tenants through escalating your rents too high and end up attracting a not as good a tenant. So, be mindful of that. I think, yes, review your rents. Yes, rents have moved up, but just be careful the old greed factor doesn't kick in, and I know that's hard to do, and some of you will be saying, I've been holding back for a long time and things, etc., etc. But keep in mind, if you've got a good tenant, you need to hold on to them because they're like gold. There are a lot of people out there looking for properties. I understand that, but it doesn't mean they're all good tenants and not all good potential tenants. So now that the government has relaxed some of the restrictions it had on removal of tenants who aren't great tenants, they will be re-entering the field. So just be mindful of that as well. So just be careful. I don't think there's any doom and gloom in any of that. But again, my advice to anybody who is a landlord, look at your budget, sit with your accountant, make sure your cash flows are right, get the rent you deserve. No problems with that at all, but don't get to the greedy factor because generally it backfires on you. You quite often lose good tenants, and quite often you'll end up, not quite often, but sometimes you'll end up with a worse tenant and a more difficult situation through poor tenant selection. Because it can be pretty hard qualifying some of these tenants out there because there's so many, and there is a lot of pressure out there at the moment, and I know a lot of agents are feeling that. Market overall, like I say, is pretty good, but I still think between now and the end of May we will see some little changes, but I would see from June onwards I think we'll continue as we were prior to the last shutdown, with things continuing to move along nicely and being a far more balanced market, and I think that'll certainly continue well into 2022. Anyway, in the meantime, if you're thinking about real estate, check out realestateplus.com, and all the best for the weekend.